The other day I had a client ask me about adding testimonials to these single listings. And in this video, I'm going to show you what we came up with. Okay, so let's go ahead and dive in. This is just a clean copy of the Canvas starter site from the MyListing Club. We're going to drop over into listing types. We will go into, we'll just pick expert here. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add a field to collect those testimonials. So for that, we're going to go to, not necessarily to collect, but to add those testimonials to our site that we've collected. So we're going to go down and we're going to add the general repeater custom field here. So we'll grab that over on the right just by clicking on it, and then drag that to whatever area of your add listing form, submit form, whatever you want to call it, wherever you want to put it. So we're going to drag this up here. We'll put it in the top. We'll put it at the bottom of the main section here, which is we're just calling profile. We're going to edit that field, and I'm going to put a label of testimonials. Moving on down here, you can add a placeholder if you want. There's not really, this isn't really a field where you would need a placeholder. You might want to put a description in there if you want. This is, again, not really a field where you need to give much guidance. It's kind of self-explanatory, but up to you. It's a testimonial, so we do not need to enable price. Item name placeholder. So we want to put in here testimonial. Actually, no, for this one, we want first name plus last initial, or however you want to do it. You can say full name, you can say first name. I would just, when you think about testimonials though, I would at least do first name and last initial instead of only a first name, just because it adds more credibility. Excuse me. We do not necessarily, it's up to you if you want to enable a link, like if you want to link back to their website, for example, you could do that. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off here. We need the description because that's what our testimonial is going to be. So instead of description, we're going to call this testimonial. And for images, we want, in this case, we're going to keep this enabled because we want to add kind of like a headshot, to add even more credibility to our testimonials. And then unless you have a code snippet, which the club has one for applying a max image size across your entire website, then make sure you go in here and you specify a low file image size, so people aren't uploading massive images to your website. It's bad for you, and it's a bad experience for them to upload massive images. We do not want to add this in our listing comparison pop-up. This isn't vital information. It's going to have images in there. There's just lots of reasons. Do not include that in the comparisons. Okay. Moving over to single page, we now need to display this information, display the testimonials that we collect. So we're going to go to content and tabs. We're going to add a new tab, and this is a bit of a trick here. Make sure that you use this profile tab whenever you're adding any custom tabs. And the reason for that is because there's an underlying feature, if you will, that when there's, like in this case, no testimonials to display, then the tab will be hidden. Now this isn't documented anywhere. This is just something that once I asked the MyListing support guys about, they came back and mentioned this. So I wish it was more apparent that we needed to do this before we used a code snippet for this. So for example, if you just clicked add custom tab, that wouldn't work. It used to work with a code snippet. It doesn't work anymore. So they advised always use this profile tab when using a custom tab. So do what you want with that. Okay, so let's move this up a little bit. Let's call this testimonials. Let's change the layout to basically just one column. We're just eliminating the columns essentially, just one big place to dump all of the testimonials. We're then going to add this general repeater block. Let's edit that block. Let's take out the label. We don't need to put that in there. And the reason we don't need a label is because our tab is literally named testimonials. So people are going to know what that is. We're going to choose our testimonials field. We're going to set the template to vertical. We're going to leave the gap as it is, and that's the gap between the items. Block icon, we'll go ahead and change this to something that looks like a chat or a review or something like that. So I'm going to type in the word chat. I'm just going to go with this first one here, which is kind of looks like a little review. There we go. It's called it's a material icon chat. Okay, so now we've got that done. Let's update this listing type. Okay, let's go find an expert listing, and let's add a testimonial or two. Here, I'll just expert, type that in. All right, so let's edit that listing. Let's scroll down until we find testimonials. There we go. Let's click add item. Obviously, you can do this from the front end. Your listing owners will be able to do this from the front end. So we got a placeholder there of first name, last initial. It's actually a label, not a placeholder. So we're going to just do Ryan and then last initial. We're going to put the testimonial. This is such a great listing. Okay, then we're going to add our image. We're just going to choose one from our media library. Let's go with this one. Okay, so we now have our testimonial headshot. Let's click on add item to add a new one. And there's a reason here I want to show you multiple versions of this. For this one, I'm going to put in a little bit of a lengthier testimonial, and there's a reason for that. Let's put in the same headshot each time just so for consistency. Let's add one more item so we get 3 across. Okay, so everything's the same except for our testimonials are longer. Okay, let's put in that same headshot again. Okay, now let's save our listing and see what we got. Okay, so here we go. Looks really good, right? The only problem is you notice that the images look different. When you have more text, this image will show at its full height. But when you have less text, the image starts to get cut off, and it gets worse with the less writing that you have. So what we want to do in this case is we want to make everything, all the images equal. We want size, and we want that text to all line up properly. Another thing, now that you've seen that, let's take another example. What if, in this middle one here, let's say there's no image. Let's see what happens. When there's no image, it creates an issue where you just have this blank space here. So another thing we want to do is we want to justify this content at the left if they do not add an image for whatever reason. Okay, I'm going to add this to the description of this video when we're done. So this is some code that was some CSS that was provided by the MyListing support team. We're just going to come over here into WP code box. In this case, you can add it to your site however it is that you add CSS. We're going to add this, in this case, to our single listings, because that's when you use a solution like WP Code Box, you can apply code only where it needs to be applied. So it just speeds up your site that much more, okay? And then we would add this in the appropriate place. So we scroll down, and it would be in our content section, somewhere in our content section, okay? We're just, for the sake of this video, we'll just drop it right here, and we'll put a comment on it, and we will say, so we remember what this is, testimonials block. Okay, and drop in the code. Again, I'll have that in the description of this video. Save. And let's duplicate this tab so we can do a before and after. Okay, there's the before with our image cut off there. We see that it's not full size like this one is, and this is not lined up. So here's the after. We now have the full image height, and we have that text justified, everything justified to the left. Everything else is lining up quite nice. If you want to get really super picky, you can you could use some CSS and you can make it so this text right here all centers vertically with this image. Maybe I will do that here soon and update everybody with a code snippet on the club's website. But for now, that looks really nice. A very simple, easy, free way to add testimonials to your website. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed this video and catch you in the next one.